Coming up on College Press Box, did Kansas State break Texas basketball's win streak?
And we'll take a look at the newest members of Coach Strong's team.
All this and more on College Press Box. Welcome to College Press Box. I'm your host, Rachel Wenslow, and with me tonight as analyst is Julian Owens. Julian, how's it going?
It's going great, Rachel. How about you?
Well, it's going pretty good for me, but I know that you're a big basketball fan, so I think we should just get right into it with some basketball.
Okay.
So even though Texas suffered a loss at Kansas State this weekend, I'm still pretty impressed with how they've been playing lately. But I knew that their loss would have to come soon. I just didn't think it'd be by such a big margin.
Nobody thought it was going to be by a big margin, Rachel. The Horns went to Fort Worth, Texas to face the TCU Horned Frogs this past Tuesday. Both teams were struggling throughout the game. Texas made only 31% of their field goals, which is the lowest of this season, and played without Joe Felix. The Horns were able to prevail against the Horned Frogs 59-54 with Cameron Ridley's clutch free throws to seal the game. And Jonathan Holmes had an impressive game, grabbing 16 boards and scored 20 points. Texas will increase their win streak to 7. With that win streak, they will go into Manhattan, Kansas to play Kansas State. However, would lose that game 57-74. They would lose with over 33% of field goals and with a not so healthy Jonathan Holmes.
It's never good for the Texas basketball team. But tonight we have Harry Hoffman here as our basketball analyst. Harry, I know you have some strong opinions about how Texas has been playing lately and how they performed against Kansas State. What do you think is key for Texas to return to their success?
Yeah, it was a rough week for Texas basketball, coming off an emotional win at home against Kansas, making it 7 straight wins in the Big 12. I think this week was just a letdown mentally. Going on the road at TCU and at Kansas State, you have to match the intensity in the Big 12 day in and day out, and they just didn't do that. And I think this was a big wake-up call for the team and for Rick Barnes. So they basically got run out of the state of Kansas on Saturday afternoon. And I think heading into the last half of Big 12 play, it's going to be up to Cameron Ridley, Jonathan Holmes, and Isaiah Taylor to lead the charge again. Those 3 guys are the key to this team's success. Isaiah breaking down the defense, getting to the basket. Jonathan Holmes grabbing the boards. He had 16 against TCU. And Cameron Ridley cleaning up the boards as well and getting his post game going. So a combination of those 3 guys and the solid defense that Texas came in with in the first half of the Big 12 season is definitely the things this team needs to do to continue to win and maybe make a run at a Big 12 tournament and, of course, in the NCAA tournament.
All right, well, thank you, Harry. Women's basketball will have their chance to take on Kansas this Wednesday night, also in Kansas. Leading into that game, Texas locked down 2 solid wins against Texas State and Iowa State at home, where they were undefeated in conference play. All right, now Texas Tech came into the game on Wednesday with a 0-10 record in conference play and left it with a 0-11 record. Let's take it out to the Frank Irwin Center for the highlights. All right, Texas getting real pumped for a game that should be an easy win for them. After a defensive rebound by Chastity Fizel, Selena Rodrigo gets a nice setup and sinks the 3. Texas started out slow on the scoreboard, but Texas kicked it into high gear with Imani McGee-Stafford's layup right here. Texas continues to extend its lead with Chastity Fizel's effortless 3-pointer. The game was full of assists and 3-pointers, and Gigi Mazianette tacks on another one right here. Texas is up by 14 now. In the second half, McGee-Stafford owned in the paint, tipping in yet another one of her layups. Texas has the game locked away now, but Empress Davenport doesn't let up, sinking in another 3-pointer of her own. Texas Tech went home with a loss and some injuries. Chantel Nobles took an elbow to the face and sat out for the rest of the game. Chastity Fizel with the acrobatic layup to contribute to Texas's final tally of 88 points. The Longhorns sing the fight song, and Texas Tech clears out of the court with only 51 points.
This past Saturday, the Iowa State Cyclones came to town to face the Lady Longhorns in the Big 12 Conference. The Horns look to advance to 7-4 in conference play. Well, let's go to the Frank Irwin Center for the highlights. You see the Horns getting ready for their win and trying to get a second win straight against a Big 12 opponent. Early in the first half, it'll be 31-36. Rodrigo will finish with a drive for the layup to try to close the gap in before the half. Now 41-35. Ball movement for Texas will lead to Mezianete for the hard layup, which will go down to make the score 37-41. Iowa State. Now Fussell will try to make a fast break. Will cut Iowa State's lead down to 47-46. Iowa State. Now, just as Iowa State was going on for a run, Ipianite will put up a tough lay-hand layup, will get the score up to 56-50. Now Rodrigo would go and hit the jumper, which gets the Horns right back into it, make it 55-56. Iowa State still leading by 1 point. Now, however, Texas is swinging the ball more, and Sanders with the three to give the Horns the lead earlier in the first half. Since the first half, and now they'll go in, and now Davenport will seal the game with that layup, which will make it 64-61. Texas would win that game 71-64.
Well, Julian, it's hard to criticize anything the women's basketball team is doing right now because they're playing so much better than they did last year. Last year, they finished the season with a 5-13 record in conference play, and this season, they are boasting a 7-4 conference record.
It's just, I think it's coming to that traditional basketball play. You have McGee and you have, Beaumont native, Nakia Jones in there getting in the boards, trying to get the points in the post. You see them doing that. Then you have Mazianete, you have Sanders go out there making middle and long range jumpers, just getting the ball moving. You just have them going in fast breaks. You have them catching the boards. It's just traditional basketball, and if they continue to do this, I see them going into the tournament and doing very fine.
Well, Jake Laban had even more on the Iowa State game. He was there, so let's take it out and see what he got.
The Longhorns extended their home winning streak to 10 games at the Frank Irwin Center on Sunday against the Iowa State Cyclones. Sophomore guard Brady Sanders led the charge for Texas with 10 points.
I think she's sort of a stabilizing force on our team. We really appreciate players that come to play every day.
Sophomore guard Empress Davenport tacked on 10 of her own off the bench for the Horns, including a clutch three-pointer to trim the ISU lead down to 1 with under 5 minutes to play in the game. Moments later, Sanders hit the go-ahead three to help Texas overcome a double-digit deficit in the second half. The crowd was a big part of the comeback effort.
The crowd today was awesome. I feel like they're just getting better and better as conference goes on, which I think that comes along with winning. They got really loud there at the end, which I definitely think was a huge key factor to us keeping the energy going, and so I thought they were unbelievable today.
Davenport made a driving layup that would ultimately seal the win for the Longhorns.
I didn't think it would be that wide open, but at the end of the day, I read the defense and got a bucket from my teammates, and that's what we needed.
With this win against 22nd ranked Iowa State, Texas can boast yet another win against a top-ranked team, their third of the season. If they can continue winning like this, they have an excellent chance of making the tournament come March. The Frank Irwin Center has been kind to the Horns as of late, but they'll have to step their game up on the road if they want to finish near the top of the Big 12.
But I think right now we really need to think about every game being important. We have some goals that are attainable, and they don't have anything to do with road or home.
Reporting for College Press Box, I'm Jake Lapin.
Well, thank you so much, Harry, for coming into the studio and giving us some insight on some college basketball.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. Well, coming up, we'll give you a break from basketball and talk about the state of Texas's favorite sport, football. We'll have Jeff Barker here to talk some signees, and College Press Box will be right back. Welcome back to College Press Box. Football season officially ended just a few weeks ago, and now the recruiting season for the 2014-2015 season is over too. Texas had quite a few decommits, but did manage to snag a few notable players. One of those players is quarterback Gerard Hurd. Someone Texas fans are very excited about because, as we know, Texas has not had the best luck with quarterbacks lately.
You are absolutely right with that, Rachel. Gerard Hurd, he's 6'1", 190. He's he's not as high advantage, but he's not that much size on him. But he still has that very good quarterback skills. As you and I mentioned earlier, he has 49 total touchdowns, and he has over 4,000 passing yards. Not only that, he has over 1,500 rushing yards. So it looks very nice on his resume that he has put up these stats. Not only did that, he was a leader in his team. He did very good in his high school, junior and senior year. So he looks like a very good addition to the Longhorns for quarterback squad.
Well, Jeff Barker is also here. So, Jeff, how do you feel about him?
Hey guys, yeah, when I look at Gerard, what stands out to me is the guy's a proven winner, won back-to-back state championships at Denton Guyer High School's junior and senior year. And, he brings a charisma and leadership, a confidence that we haven't really seen from any of the Texas quarterbacks of late. And as we know, Julian mentioned, unbelievable dual-threat quarterback, rushed for over 2,000 yards and 27 touchdowns, as well as 22 passing touchdowns this past season as a senior. And I do think his passing is actually a little bit underrated. But at the same time, one of the things he'll need to work on when he arrives to UT is his accuracy and consistency in the passing game.
Okay, Jeff, and there's another signee that came on, but he's the top recruiter of this class, and it's Derek Roberson. Tell us what you feel about him.
Yeah, Roberson's a great recruit, but at 6'3", 235, he'll have to put on a little muscle if he wants to play immediately for the Longhorns, but the upside is huge. And, he still could play immediately for the Longhorns, though, especially with the departure of All-American defensive end Jackson Jeffcoat, who they lost to graduation and the draft. When you look at Roberson as well, his speed and athleticism as a pure pass rusher are his main strengths. Should definitely help the Longhorns get some pressure on Big 12 quarterbacks, in a pass-happy conference for the future. And if he's able to add the size, as I mentioned, should be a great player for the Horns.
All right, well, also something about him is I'm from San Antonio, and so Roberson played at Brennan, and Brennan's first year when they opened in 2010, they went 0-10 for the whole season, and now in Roberson's senior year, they went on to compete for the state championship, which I thought was pretty impressive, so he helped kind of lead them over there. Another one of our recruits is Puna Ford, who may have the coolest name on our roster now. How do you feel about him, Julian?
He seems like he's going to be a very good addition to the Longhorn family. He has the size on him. He has the mechanics to be a very great very great defensive end. Defensive end. He led his team, his high school junior and senior year with sacks and tackles for loss. He did very well in his his high school years. If you looked at his tapes, he's phenomenal. I see him being a great look for the defensive tackle, being the pass rusher for the Longhorns, and it's going to be a very great addition.
Jeff, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, Julian, you said it. Puna, he was a great player at Hilton Head High School in South Carolina. He has great upside. He's a little unconventional body for a defensive tackle, though. Just above 6 feet tall, just under 300 pounds. So a little bit unconventional there. But his mobility and speed kind of make up for that. Maybe even could be moved to defensive end. You never know. But with how big he is, he'll probably continue to play defensive tackle. What makes me the most excited about this pickup, though, is it showed that Coach Strong can continue his great pipeline to the Deep South. If he can continue to get guys from SEC territory, something that Mac Brown never really did, and continue, to close the borders on Texas as well, Texas will be just fine.
Well, we had Edwin Freeman up next, who I especially like because he chose Texas over A&M. So, Jeff, what do you think about him?
Yeah, Freeman was one of Charlie's best pickups since being hired. He was a great safety in high school at Arlington Bowie, but he'll most likely make the switch to outside linebacker when he arrives on campus. Right now, he's listed at 6'1", 215 pounds. With some time in the weight room, though, he could be an early contributor for the Horns as well. A guy like Roberson as well could be an early contributor. And if he is indeed moved to outside linebacker, the toughest transition for him will be in the running game and stopping the run. Shedding blocks from Division I offensive linemen, something that he never really had to deal with in high school as a safety. So with some time, good coaching, hit the weights, he'll be a good player.
I'd have to agree with Jeff on that. He has an outside linebacker. He has the size to be an outside linebacker, 6'1", 215. That's very good, perfect size. The also thing is, like Jeff said, if he is able to move to the outside linebacker position, you have that dual threat linebacker position. He has been through the safety position throughout his whole high school career, but putting him into an outside linebacker, not only would he be a great pass rusher because of the speed he has, but also he'll be able to look at the quarterback and recognize if he's going to pass towards his side or not, be able to get some picks for the Longhorns and be able to do some very good some momentum for the defense.
Well, thanks for the insight, guys, and Jeff, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, last Wednesday at the end of signing day, head coach Charlie Strong let us in on how he felt about the success of the day.
It's been a very intense couple of weeks, and what we were able to do as a staff was we wanted to keep this class together. And it was an outstanding class, and then we were able to add a few players ourselves by our guys going out. But it was key for us, it was for our coaches, our coaching staff to get within the state and develop a relationship not only with the new recruits that we were signing, but also with the high school coaches here.
Well, he's not a signee for a college team, but he is an NFL hopeful. And just 2 weeks before the annual NFL Scouting Combine, Michael Sam, a Missouri defender, announced that he was openly gay and proud of it. Athletes coming out to their teammates and the public has been an increasing trend in sports, but Sam might just become the first openly gay NFL player. Coming up after the break, we're talking Texas tennis, golf, and softball. Don't go anywhere, it's College Press Box.
Welcome back to College Press Box. The Texas softball team attended the Louisiana Classic this past weekend and was off to a great start. Texas would defeat North Carolina 7-3 after scoring 5 runs in the first 2 innings, with Taylor Thom leading the team with 2 runs. Later on that day, the Horns faced the University of Louisiana Lafayette and won their matchup 10-7. The Raging Cajuns were leading 5-1 in the first inning, but Texas pulled off 9 straight runs in the last 3 innings to win the first game of their matchup. The next day, Texas was on a 3-game winning streak after beating the Cajuns 10-3. Texas looked to hope in hopes for the rest of the weekend of winning the Louisiana Classic and going undefeated.
But the Longhorns couldn't manage to hold on to their 3-game win streak and go undefeated. Although Texas started out strong, they lost their final 2 games against Northern Iowa 3-6 and just barely lost to Purdue with a final score of 4-5.
After a good start of the weekend, the number 19 men's golf team finished the MRA Invitational tied for 7th place. Freshman Gavin Hall was the Longhorns' low player for the 3rd time this season, and he went on to tie 30th place at 6 under par. Redshirt junior Brex McCarthy and junior Kramer McCart tied the 39th at the weekend was done. Senior Tony Hukala and freshman Bo Hosler rounded out the Texas squad's tie for 42nd. The men's golf team will go back into action in the Bayou Classic on the 21st.
The number 10 ranked men's tennis team maintained their undefeated record after taking down Michigan 5-2 on the road on Friday. But they did have a little scare. For the first time this season, the Longhorns didn't win the doubles point and began the game with a 1-point deficit. The loss gave Texas a wake-up call, and the Longhorns kicked it up in the singles competition to respond with 5 consecutive wins.
The number 10 men's tennis team was defeated by the number 22 University of Illinois 4-3. Texas earned their 3 points from winning 1 double match and 2 single matches from senior Sonowana Citron and junior Adrian Berkowitz. However, the Fighting Illini defeated the Horns in the top 3 single matchups and the number 5 matchup, where Illinois Ross Ewan defeated Nick Nogman in the 3 sets after previous 2 ended with a tiebreaker. The Horns will travel to Houston this upcoming weekend to attend the ITA National Team Indoor Championship.
The number 17 ranked women's tennis team began the ITA National Indoor Championship Series Friday against UCLA and didn't get off to the best start. Texas's Elizabeth Begley and Linda Pegiamite rallied to win their singles matches but couldn't do enough to carry the team as the 5th-ranked Bruins took down the Longhorns 4-2.
After losing against UCLA, the women's tennis team looked to fight back. However, they fell short to the Alabama Crimson Tide 4-1. Texas led after 1 double session after Elizabeth Beckley and Neda Kaparinka led the tie, finishing the double session, leading the matchup 2-0. Verona Addison put Texas on the board after defeating Alabama's Dame in the singles round, but the rest of the Horns could not finish the match, losing 2 of those matchups that were decided in tie-breaking sets. Texas will go to take on Texas A&M this Saturday.
Texas continued to prove that they were not up to the challenge of competing for their rank as number 7 A&M served the Longhorns their 3rd and final loss of the weekend. Texas had a chance to clinch victory in the final 2 matches, but Ratnika Batra couldn't hold on against A&M's Sashka Galviarniska, leading into a 4-2 loss for Texas.
The Texas rowing team earned their 2 top 5 finishes in the Fighting Norada in the Austin's Lady Bird Lake. The Horns' 4th varsity A-plus boat team took 2nd place behind the Austin's Rowing Club, where they finished the race in 33 minutes and 9 seconds. Texas Novus A-plus bowl team took 4th place overall with 33 minutes and 25.7 seconds. Texas top 3 varsity boats will engage in an informal scrimmage against Michigan this Sunday at Lady Bird Lake. When we come back, Rachel will be on the other studio to talk to the cheer and pom squad. Also, we'll take a look at this week in Longhorn sports. Stay tuned. This is College Press Box.
Welcome back to College Press Box. I'm your host, Rachel Winslow. Tonight we have our first guest of the semester from Texas Cheer and Texas Pom. We have Tara Mary from White Squad, Allie Wiley from Orange Squad, Kayla Bright from White Squad, and from Texas Pom we have Micah Pearl. This week both of the cheer squads, Orange and White, and the Pom squad will come together for their annual extravaganza performance that they perform at the men's and women's basketball games. So, Micah, what exactly is the extravaganza performance?
Well, extravaganza is a collaborative halftime performance that the Texas Spirit program puts on, and so we have Orange Squad, White Squad, and the Pom Squad come together, and we really get an opportunity to showcase all of the things that we've been working on this year.
How long has Pom been practicing for the event?
Well, Pom actually starts practicing and planning for the event in January, and then we begin with a small committee of about 5 girls choreographing and placing people in formations, and so we begin to teach our entire team about 3 weeks from the performance date.
I think it's pretty impressive that y'all choreographed the event by yourselves, and I know that cheer does the same thing where they have the in-squad choreography, so how have y'all been working on that, Allie?
Well, within the cheer program, we divide up the leadership responsibilities, and Tara and I are actually in charge of the choreography. So basically, we perform at different events throughout the year and plan out the performances, and extravaganza is one of our biggest performances. So we begin meeting and kind of laying out the rough idea of what we want to do in about October, and over Christmas break we kind of set the counts and that sort of thing, and in January we really begin focusing on the skill aspect of it, making sure that all of the members of our team are able to perform those skills. So this whole semester we've really been working hard for extravaganza.
So I was at y'all's practice last week, and I kind of shot some video, but we can't give the whole thing away, even though we do have some footage. And I saw how hard it was, and I know how hard it was because I used to be a cheerleader. And I think some people at home kind of maybe don't understand exactly how much work and how hard it is to condition for these types of events. So can you kind of tell us how you've been preparing for it, Tara?
Sure. I think extravaganza is pretty difficult on 2 levels. The first one is that we're doing these collegiate elite stunts and tumbling skills that not only take hard work to perfect, but to learn from the top to bottom, or bottom to top. And on the other side, it's collaborating with the 3 squads. So it's getting Pom and Orange Squad and Pom and Orange Squad and White Squad to come together and practice at the same time. Scheduling is an issue. And once we are practicing together, we want to make sure that Orange Squad's not colliding with White Squad, and her tumbling pass isn't hitting his stunt. And so it's a lot more into it than you'd think it would be. So there's a difficult because it's actually hard skills, and it's also hard to schedule it.
Kayla, so why do you guys perform this every year?
Extravaganza is a traditional performance where all 3 teams come together, and we get to do more of the technical side of our sport. It's less involved with leading, the crowd. It's more about showing what we do and the hard things that we get to do. It also serves as a recruiting opportunity for anybody who's interested in joining our program to come see what we do and the skills that we do.
So not only will people come out and get to watch this really amazing performance and go and enjoy a basketball game, but it's also kind of supporting a good cause. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, the game is both the men's and women's game that weekend is Horns for Hope. And so that's kind of like the breast cancer awareness month of this semester. And so these games will be like the pink t-shirts and, just raising breast cancer awareness opportunity for that.
Well, good luck this week. I'm really excited to go see it come to life after seeing y'all practice it this week. And for those of you at home who are interested in going out and supporting and watching, they're performing at the men's game on the 15th at 7 and the women's game on the 16th at noon. It should be a good game for a good cause and a good performance.
Now let's take a look this week.
Welcome back to College Press Box. I'm your host, Rachel Wynn.
On February 10th through the 11th, women's golf will be at the Northrop Grumman On Tuesday, February 11th, the number 19 men's basketball will be playing Oklahoma City here at the Drum at 6 o'clock p.m. On Wednesday, February 12th, women's basketball will be playing at Manhattan, Kansas against Kansas State at 7 p.m. And softball will be playing UTSA at 7 p.m. On Friday, February 14th, softball will be playing Kentucky at 4 p.m. Softball will also play IPFW at 6:30 p.m. And baseball will be at California at 9 p.m. The 14th through the 17th, men's tennis will be at the ITA Indoor National Championship. And on the 14th through the 15th, track and field and cross country will be at the Iowa State Classic and the Tyson Invitational. On Saturday, February 15th, women's tennis will play versus Northwestern at 12 p.m. Softball will be playing against Louisiana Tech at 1 p.m. Baseball will still be at California from 3 p.m. and play again at 6:45 p.m. Soccer will host Houston here in Austin at 7 p.m. Men's basketball will host West Virginia here again at the Drum at 7 p.m. Then from the 15th to the 16th, softball will be in the Texas tournament. The time will be determined later on this week. And on Sunday, February 16th, women's basketball will play against Baylor here at the Drum at 12. And baseball will be again at California at 3 p.m.
Well, for Julian Owens and everyone in Master Control, I'm Rachel Wenslav. Thank you for watching this edition of College Press Box. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at College Press Box. And for a good sports debate, catch College Crossfire Wednesday nights at 9:30. We'll see you right back here next Monday. Good night.
Down south till I die. Hook 'em on, up, I hook 'em up. Hook 'em on,